Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Nancy, and if you are new to this channel, please subscribe and also turn on your notification bell so you'll be the first to be notified when I upload new tutorials. In today's class, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to make this simple pinafore top. So if this is something you're interested in learning, keep on watching and let's get started. So the name of the fabric I'm working with is called an African print fabric, and I made use of just 1 yard. So now I'm going to fold the fabric into two, and then I would further fold it into two again. So I practically folded this fabric into four so that we'll be able to get both the front piece and the back piece of the top after cutting. So the first step is to draw the starting line, which is also referred to as the shoulder line. So when folding your fabric into four, just make sure that it's wide enough to accommodate your shoulder measurements, because that is what we are going to be using for the wideness of this top. So now from the center of the folded fabric on the starting line, I'm going to place my tape to mark the neck width. So I'm going to be marking 3.5 inches as the neck width. For a plus size person, you should mark 4 inches. So the opening on the neckline would be able to pass through your head conveniently. Now for the neck depth of the front piece, I would be marking 4.5 inches from the shoulder line to connect the neck width to meet the neck depth with my curved ruler. So take note that the neck depth for the front is different from the neck depth for the back piece. So now for the neck depth of the back piece, I'll be marking 1.5 inch to connect it to meet the neck width. So the reason I'm marking both the neck depth for the front piece and back piece at the same time is because this fabric is folded into four. So when I'm ready to cut out the fabric, you would understand better. So now from the center of the shoulder line, I would place my tape measure to mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2. My shoulder measurement is 14, divided by 2 it's 7, so I marked it there. Now on this point, I would mark 1 inch below the shoulder point, which would be for the shoulder slope. Then I would connect it to the neck width, just like you see me doing. So now the next step is to mark the length you want the top to be. So I'm going to place my tape from the shoulder line here. Now, to know the length you want the top to be, you have to work with your waist measurement. That's from your shoulder to waist measurement, which is also the half length. For me, it's 15.5 inches, so I marked it here. But because we are going to be tying the sides, we need to add about 1 inch so that it isn't going to be shorter than 15.5 inches. So I'm going to be adding 1 inch extra to my half length, and that will be 16.5 inches, which I marked here. Now I'm going to draw a straight line across this point I marked. So for the folding allowance at the hem, I'm going to be adding just 2 inches extra to the bottom. So that will be 18.5 inches after adding 2 inches folding allowance. Next, I'm going to be extending my shoulder slope all the way down to meet the hemline. So basically, the wideness of the top is dependent on your shoulder measurements, and that is why it is important to fold your fabric in such a way that it's enough to accommodate your shoulder measurements. Now after doing this, the next thing I'm going to do is to add half of an inch stitching allowance to the shoulder slope before cutting it out. So guys, just pay attention to the areas I'm cutting so you don't make any mistake. So the first thing I'm going to do here is to make sure that I'm cutting out the neck depth of just the back piece first before cutting out the neck depth of the front piece. So now I'm just going to place my scissors to cut out the neck depth of the back piece like I said. So after cutting out the neck depth for the back piece, I'm going to take out the inner folded fabric. So I'm just going to take out the inner folded fabric. That's going to be for the back piece. And then this other fold, or this other folded fabric rather, would be for the front piece. So all I have to do now is just to cut out the neckline. So the neckline for the front piece is deeper than the neckline for the back piece. Now once you have done this, the next thing you're going to do is to place the right side of the back piece directly on the right side of the front piece to stitch the shoulders together by half of an inch, following the direction of the chalk. So after stitching the shoulders together, this is how it should be. And you can see that the round neck is formed already. One thing you can do here is to make sure that this round opening can easily pass through your head before attaching your bias tape. I've done that already, and the wideness of this neckline is very okay for me. Now I'm going to use a bias tape to stitch the neckline to turn it to the wrong side of the fabric. So now I'm going to turn the bias tape to the wrong side of the fabric like you see me doing. I would head over to my sewing machine to stitch the edges of the bias tape neatly. So after stitching the neckline, I'll go ahead to fold the sides of the top. I'll fold it inward by half of an inch and further fold it inward by half of an inch again. I'll head over to the sewing machine to stitch the edges of the fold, and then I'll repeat the same stitching process on this other side of the top as well. After stitching the sides of the top, this is how it should be. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to stitch the hem. To stitch the hem, since I added 2 inches folding allowance to the bottom, I'm going to fold the hem by 1 inch and further fold it by 1 inch again. So it's folded into two, and then I would head over to the sewing machine to stitch the edges of the fold, and I would also do the same stitching process on the hem of this other side as well. So I'm gonna head to stitch the hem, and you can see how neat it is, and obviously our top is coming to life already. Now the next thing we need to work on is the straps that would be attached to the end of the top. So guys, for the straps we'll be needing 4 straps. Now this is the first strap here, and I folded the fabric into two. The width of this strap is 2.5 inches, while the length is 25 inches. So that was exactly the same thing I did for the rest, that's the other three. Now from this opening, I'm going to stitch the edges together by half of an inch following the direction of the chalk, and on this side as well, while the upper part would be open so that I can easily turn the fabric to the right side. So I'm going to head to turn the straps to the right side of the fabric. Now the next step is on how to attach the straps to the hem of this top. So I opened the top this way, and this is the wrong side of the top. On each edges at the bottom, I'm going to be marking 1.5 inch. Now on the opening we have on the strap here, I'm going to fold it in by half of an inch, and then I'll place it on this point I chalked here. I'll go ahead to pin it. Make sure that it's on the same level with the end of the blouse. So I'll make a straight stitch here and on this side as well, and after stitching you would realize that it will be very neat at the right side of the fabric. Alright, so I'm also going to do the same thing on the other side. I would fold the opening here by half of an inch to place it directly on the chalk I marked here, making sure that it's on the same level with the length of the top. I pinned it, and then I'll stitch the edges with a straight stitch, and I'll repeat the same stitching process on the end of this other side as well. So guys, you can see that it's actually very easy to make this pinafore top, and you don't really need much fabric to achieve this style. You can actually use your scrap fabric to achieve this style. Mine really came out well, and you can actually style it on a pant, that's a long pant, or a short, or even a skirt. It just depends on how you wish to style yours. So now I'm going to head over to the sewing machine to stitch all the straps together. After stitching, this is how it should be. You can see how neat it is in front. So this is basically how yours should be as well. Alright guys, so this is the final outcome of the top. You can see it came out really beautiful. The next thing I'm going to do is to knot the straps by the sides. I hope this tutorial was helpful, and if you are new to my channel, my name is Nancy. Please subscribe, share and like my tutorials, and also follow me on Instagram at Stylemebynancy. And do not forget to turn on your notification bell here on YouTube, so you'll be the first to be notified when I upload new tutorials on my channel. Thank you for watching to the very end, and see you in my next one.